Disney, a global empire known for shaping childhood dreams and raking in billions. Yet today, the entire kingdom appears under siege. Fans everywhere are screaming about massive betrayal. Suddenly, news breaks that the Disney CEO has allegedly been tossed out, kicked to the curb. Some say it's because of an apocalyptic Disneyland boycott that crushed ticket sales. Others point fingers at a single movie meltdown, the new Snow White fiasco. And who's at the center of this storm?
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because we cast a guy in the movie. Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood.
Large dump on half of the country, everyone who voted for Trump.
But you are not entitled to call for Trump supporters to be harmed. You are actually not entitled to do that. And so let me just remind you, Rachel Zegler, of what the map looks like, just so you can understand when your Disney movie is coming out, how many people you are wishing harm upon. This is America right now. I will love you through these 4 years as best I can. F Donald Trump. Yeah, totally stable thing for her to be posting, wishing harm upon Trump voters, wishing that we have no...
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Say it louder so your other eye can hear you.
So we didn't do that this time.
Well, the primary suffering is being sent in by my company to watch a children's movie as a single man, 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person in the theater.
Particularly see people who, look like me or are me playing roles like that. So it was definitely, when it got announced,
Snow White!
He wasn't a stalker, by the way.
Thing that was trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were...
It's just her going, we need to No, you don't. It's not your job. Your job is to entertain. You are paid to entertain. That's what this is. Also, it's very disturbing.
This movie was like you took the original Snow White and just put everything through this filter of liberalism. It wasn't through a filter of Japanese anime, it was through a filter of liberalism.
Rachel Zegler, the shining star of that same film, who's now facing heated accusations from every corner. People say her dismissive attitude toward the classic fairy tale hammered the final nail in the coffin for Disney's credibility. So, how did we get here? Strap in, because we're unpacking every detail about the alleged CEO firing, the so-called Snow White disaster, and the raging wave of criticism storming around Rachel Zegler.
They are pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Have they ever thought about maybe a little bit of vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
But it's no really knock on her. If you did the autobiography of Malcolm X, would you cast Tom Hanks? If you remade Moana, would you cast a little Irish guy? No, you wouldn't. So that was off the top.
Yeah, I have a clip of it.
Oh, okay, great.
Her being a retard.
Okay.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
That laugh.
That is
not going to be saved by
You
the
wrote
prince.
it?
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
It just takes a beloved movie and makes it much more boring and much less realistic. The movie is really, really...
We're on the line, folks.
Bitch! The Raking by Cosby sweaters?
Come on.
That's the face of a serial killer.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button.
Snow White is generally understood to be a very, very white person. And in this case, they decided, no, that doesn't make any sense. So I don't think we're allowed to say that, right? President Rachel Zegler also posted, F Trump kinds of posts on social media. She also said that she hoped that Trump supporters, quote, never know peace.
And they postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable, told all Trump supporters that they could off, but she did. That was just in November. They didn't even know she was going to do.
The moment the rumor hit social media, the shockwave was instantaneous. A flurry of posts cried out that Disney's top dog had been fired in the dead of night. Allegedly, the board had no tolerance for spiraling losses. One day, people were chatting about a dip in attendance at Disneyland. The next, they were hurling accusations that the entire place was hemorrhaging money faster than any brand could sustain. The rumor swirling around the net.
Who wants a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? It's the outrage.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. She's not going to be safe with a prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
Oh my God.
And she came out and she said, I apologize. Like I went too far, but it wasn't sincere.
Hardcore. They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
I wanted my money back. I was very disappointed.
They spent $300 million, and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
The movie has a major identity crisis.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely f***ing atrocious.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
And you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie, and I believe it only made less than $1 million.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of happy.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension. Racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it?
Fans staged a boycott so massive, so relentless, it pushed the suits upstairs to slam down the gavel on their CEO. But that wasn't the entire gut punch. Insiders whispered that top investors fumed once they saw the downward trend. Conversations behind thick boardroom doors allegedly spelled doom for the CEO. Did they see no other choice? Many in the public think so, because if a huge chunk of loyal fans refuses to set foot in the park.
Controversy in Snow White. The dwarves have been eliminated in the live action.
Yeah.
Now it's Snow White and the 7 magical beings.
Wait, it's 7 and the magical beings.
Yeah,
they won't even say
magical
and the 7
beings.
dwarves.
No, because they're not dwarves. For right now, that's the only jobs that are there.
They're remaking the movie. They just got rid of the dwarves. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group. You just erase that whole.
I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film.
You want to trash that legacy? That company that now Disney has screwed up the last 5 years trying to please a small percentage of minorities in America? Yeah, we're sick of it. So the more you do this, Disney, Iger, Ziegler, whatever her name is, yes, this is exactly the backlash you're going to get from parents who have kids who are your customers. You're supposed to win parents over. You're talking to kids, the parents pay for the tickets. You have to be a dummy as a marketer. If I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years, and guess what? Pay her a couple $1 million, go away. We're gonna bring another person to play this role because you just screwed this thing.
This week was a very big week, objectively a huge week. We had quite a few announcements. It's the first live action film, which is Snow White and the Evil Queen. And that's me, I'm Snow White, which is so...
People wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad.
So it was like
those people.
very much this, yes. It was this
people that we
awakening
need
of-
to educate, the people that we need to love into awareness.
love them in the right direction.
And so I've got some bona fides here on being fair. The movie was absolutely terrible. Every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original. So from the casting to the class politics, the sexual politics, the regime politics, everything about it was liberal.
Ticket sales crash, bottom lines get nuked, and heads roll. This is how the rumor goes. But the real bombshell arrived when folks started connecting the meltdown to Snow White, Rachel Zegler, and the fiasco nobody saw coming. Just last week, the new Snow White live-action remake supposedly took a brutal plunge at the box office. Everywhere you looked, headlines screamed flop, catastrophe, and failure. Fans online shared pictures of empty theaters and half-filled showtimes. Analysts called it a red flag for Disney's reimagining of beloved classics. Then came the blame game. Some viewers claimed the marketing was abysmal. Others insisted the film's tone felt off and that it strayed too far from the fairy tale magic that first enchanted the world. But the loudest voices pointed at Rachel Zegler. They raged that she insulted the older versions of Snow White, calling them outdated or regressive. People said her entire attitude during promotional interviews was a big slap in the face to fans nostalgic for the original. Was this meltdown enough to topple a CEO? That's what every rumor chatter wants you to believe. The film's performance was the last straw, or so they say, and the timing could not be worse. While moviegoers attacked the film's creative direction, Disneyland, the heart of all that is Disney, apparently felt the heat from a wave of furious boycotters. But the story gets even more intense when we see how fans rallied together to punish Disney as a whole, not just Rachel Zegler or a single movie. Suddenly, Mod Boycott Disneyland started trending. Social media lit up with calls to skip the park, cancel existing trips, and demand refunds. Bloggers and vloggers who used to gush about the happiest place on earth shifted gears. They posted scorching rants. Some labeled Disney as out of touch, mocking the brand's new directions. The avalanche of negative tweets and Facebook posts allegedly hammered home one point: we won't stand for disrespecting a beloved fairy tale. People argued that if Disney didn't care about its fans, then fans would reciprocate by withholding their dollars. Protesters circulated images of half-empty parking lots at Disneyland. They shared screenshots of discounted tickets that apparently still went unsold. According to rumor mills, management panicked, realizing just how deeply this fiasco cut. Critics said the meltdown was a long time coming, that Disney had grown complacent with brand loyalty. But fans refused to accept it any longer. So the big question is, how does Rachel Zegler fit into this? And why is she singled out? The answer might lie in her public persona and interviews that left people fuming about the supposed disregard for the original Snow White. Rachel Zegler walked into Hollywood as a rising star with hype behind her name. But once she took the Snow White role, everything changed. She gave interviews describing how this modern Snow White was different, bolder, less passive, and definitely not reliant on a prince. For some, that sounded empowering. For others, it sounded like trashing the iconic story they grew up with. People spread clips around social media, quoting Rachel's statements. She allegedly called the original storyline creepy and weird, fueling the sense that she disrespected the legacy. Memes popped up, mocking her commentary. Disgruntled fans declared she represented everything wrong with Disney's new approach, turning cherished classics into something unrecognizable. More damaging was the timing. The controversy peaked right as the movie hit theaters. And with the film's rocky performance, angry spectators painted Rachel as a symbol of the entire fiasco. The rumor soared that shareholders targeted Rachel's unfavorable image as a major factor behind the plummeting attendance in the parks. But that's not all. There's also talk that Disney's top brass was blindsided by how quickly fans' anger escalated, and it leads us to the next major piece of the puzzle: alleged panic at corporate HQ. When a brand as big as Disney faces a colossal flop, the repercussions run deep. According to behind-the-scenes whispers, top executives scrambled to figure out how one film's meltdown could spook so many loyal fans. Emergency video calls, all-hands-on-deck meetings, furious speculation that Disney's approach to reimagining classics had finally run into a brick wall. Some insiders supposedly insisted Rachel Zegler never should have been allowed to speak so freely about retooling the story. Others took aim at the marketing division, claiming they dropped the ball. Meanwhile, a handful argued Disney needed even more radical changes to keep pace with new generations. Yet, none of these arguments negated the fact that the numbers at Disneyland looked shockingly low. In this swirl of chaos, the rumor about the CEO's termination ignited. People said the board wanted a scapegoat, a sacrificial lamb to hold responsible for a tailspin in revenue. As soon as the Disney stock took a noticeable dip, panic set in. The alleged firing was swift and merciless, but behind every dramatic corporate shakeup, there's a wave of finger-pointing and hush-hush speculation. And that's where we circle back to the fans who orchestrated the boycott. If there's one thing to note about Disney fanatics, it's their fierce loyalty. But the same passion that builds the brand can tear it down once betrayed. This time, it seemed fans felt downright betrayed by the new Snow White. Parents and grandparents who cherished the 1937 classic raised eyebrows at what they viewed as an off-base storyline. Families who once made Disneyland an annual tradition decided to stay home and protest. Social media testimonies are full of fans describing how they canceled trips, refused to buy merchandise, and spread the word to friends and relatives. They labeled the boycott a moral stance. If Disney wouldn't uphold the spirit of the old tales, fans wouldn't uphold Disney's bottom line. It was that simple. The intensity of that movement is precisely what rumor mongers say forced the board's hand. Ticket sales matter. Annual pass renewals matter. Merchandise, events, and partnerships matter. With the alleged crash in all these areas, there's no ignoring the link between the Snow White uproar and the meltdown inside Disney's leadership offices. But even though Rachel Zegler caught a mountain of blame, the story took another turn when people started speculating about her future at Disney. In the aftermath of this rumored fiasco, Rachel Zegler's career path raises big questions. She's front and center for a film that supposedly crashed and burned, dragging down an entire brand's reputation in its wake. Studio insiders, if rumors hold true, are nervous about continuing partnerships. Could the newly installed Disney leadership cut her from further promotions? Could there be script changes or reshoots to salvage the film's image? Some fans argue that the fiasco will fade, and Rachel's star power will rebound if she shifts gears and tries to rectify her standing with the broader Disney audience. But not everyone agrees. Vocal critics remain furious about her comments. Meanwhile, questions linger about how the brand recovers from a meltdown of this magnitude. Big names in Hollywood love a redemption arc, but with rumors swirling that a single misstep dethroned a CEO, the stakes have skyrocketed. Rachel's team might attempt to minimize damage by steering her away from future controversies. But can the public forget the negativity that overshadowed the entire Snow White project? Yet none of this can overshadow the rumored magnitude of corporate damage that's been done. Many wonder if this fiasco signals a genuine turning point for a company that practically invented the modern fairy tale. Disney seems locked in an identity crisis. How do they reimagine iconic stories for a changing world without trashing everything fans once loved? The alleged meltdown, and the accompanying rumor that the CEO was unceremoniously shown the door, might only scratch the surface of a much deeper rift in Disney's strategic direction. From the outside looking in, it's easy to see why panic set in. If the classic Snow White can bomb so viciously, what happens to the rest of the pipeline? Films like The Little Mermaid, Moana, or any number of potential live-action remakes? Could executives pivot overnight, slashing projects that once felt like safe bets? The rumor mill suggests absolutely. In frantic boardroom exchanges, investors might be begging Disney to put a cork in all these experimental spins and stick to the tried-and-true formula that catapulted the company to global dominance. The ripple effect doesn't end at the movie theater either. Theme parks rely on that nostalgic connection to beloved characters, and fans have made it abundantly clear they won't tolerate losing the heart of what made those characters special in the first place. The fiasco hammered home a startling truth. If a substantial faction of fans believe Disney is betraying its own fairy tale legacy, they'll take immediate action. They'll boycott. They'll blast the brand on social media. And judging by the rumor that attendance flatlined at Disneyland, it works. A well-organized protest can apparently jolt the highest levels of corporate power, flipping the table on even the most entrenched executives. Now here's where Rachel Zegler gets dragged back under the microscope. She's become the convenient face of this controversy, an emblem of what many critics say is Disney's misguided approach. Whether you like her performance or not, her interviews and social media posts caused an uproar. That uproar fueled the boycott, which in turn led to rumblings of severe financial losses. And if you believe the story that a CEO was fired over it all, then Rachel effectively stands in the crosshairs for a meltdown on a scale few Disney stars have ever endured. Still, the real dilemma lurks beneath these dramatic headlines. There's a louder, more urgent question echoing through every Disney department. Is the public ready for updated, modern tales, or do they crave the old-school enchantment that made the original Snow White a treasure for generations? If they gamble on too many reimaginings, will the nostalgia bubble burst once and for all? Critics say that yes, this fiasco shows the bubble is already leaking. Others argue that Disney can't survive by clinging to the past. They claim fresh twists on older tales are the only path to attract younger, more diverse audiences. But therein lies the risk. By chasing innovation, they could alienate diehard loyalists, the ones who practically breathe Disney magic and plaster their walls with memories of childhood wonders. When that base feels disrespected or ignored, the backlash isn't just harsh, it's potentially catastrophic, as this rumored meltdown proves. The brand's new leadership, whoever steps into those CEO shoes permanently, will have to tiptoe a delicate line. Incorporate current values without inciting fan fury that devours the bottom line. Behind all the smoke and chaos, some insiders say this meltdown might serve as a much-needed wake-up call. It's possible the suits at Disney had grown a little too confident, a little too comfortable, assuming the brand alone could weather any storm. This fiasco taught them otherwise. Moving forward, you might see changes beyond a shift in leadership. Maybe an overall reevaluation of how the company markets these remakes, how it defends creative decisions, or even how it coaches its stars to speak about legacy properties. Whether Disney doubles down or does a total 180, fans are watching every detail with eagle eyes. They're waiting to see if the story behind this catastrophe forces Disney to hit the brakes on certain projects, or if new executives will crack the whip to bring swift reforms. And if the meltdown really did devour a CEO's career, you can bet those in the next wave of leadership are going to think twice before allowing another unguarded scandal to blow up in their faces. So there you have it, a bombshell rumor swirling around the idea that the Disney CEO was axed after Disneyland's ticket sales fell off a cliff, all because the new Snow White film belly flopped at the box office. Rachel Zegler found herself right in the eye of this swirling hurricane, slammed by accusations that her attitude toward the classic tale fueled the rage of long-devoted fans. In an era where public opinion can rise up like a tidal wave, it appears no corporation, no blockbuster film, and no A-list star is immune. These allegations paint a dramatic picture, a fan-led protest so colossal it forced an unprecedented leadership change. Whether or not the dust settles anytime soon, the memory of this boycott-turned-meltdown will likely linger. It challenges Disney to think hard about the future of its legendary properties, about how it communicates with its audience, and about where Rachel Zegler fits into the brand's narrative going forward. For now, the story remains an electrifying testament to the volatile dance between a media giant and its global audience. If one thing's clear, it's that the line between success and ruin can be razor thin, especially when beloved classics are involved. And those who choose to dismiss or reshape them, they'd better be ready for the kind of backlash that can topple a CEO.